what I drink now. I figure anything in the water is, yeah, I think anything, I've, I've lived through enough. If it's going to kill me, it would have. And, and having a long life isn't that long now, so, you know. No, we couldn't do the piano. Okay. Ready when you are. My name is Paul Dalzell, and I am the worship coordinator of this, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charleston. Welcome all of you, our members, our friends, and if this is your first time here today, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. We do have some announcements. Saturday, April 27th, there will be a holistic health and wellness fair here from 9 to 5. It has free admission, Tai Chi and yoga, demos and classes, all skill levels. There will be vegan food, healing energy hearts, a drum circle, and essential oils, amongst other things. Yay. And there is a flyer, if you don't remember, posted probably on the bulletin board right there. Yes. This. Okay, let's see if I can do that. There will also be on the same day, for those at home and who couldn't hear Jane, an avian demonstration with owls and potentially raptors of various sorts up at Spring Hill Cemetery, and it'll be in the morning up there, so people may go to that and then come here. But it will be, there will be more information sent soon, let's say. Yeah. Could you cut me down a little bit? If I use my big voice, it'll hurt people. At least we have mics this time so far. Also, this Wednesday, April 17th, the monthly mutual aid fair will be held. It is at Kanawha United Presbyterian Church. It's really a wonderful thing to either attend, help volunteer, you can meet other volunteers. The doors open or the volunteers show up at 5, the doors open at 6. It's a resource fair, there's delicious food, you will leave feeling better than you arrived, I promise. No question about it, it's really a great thing. You'll just feel so good. And if you show up, please wear your UU shirt. So when you pitch in, they know that we're doing stuff. I'd also like let us take a moment to thank our tech team, Maddie on video and Jaden on sound, Paul who is off today, our greeter, Laura Bickett, our ushers, Bob and Jean, our music coordinator, Jamie Edwards, and the UUC music makers for all the work they do to make Sundays happen. And a big thank you to our congressional administrator, Sarah Stone, for her patience and talent in organizing these facilities, the orders of service, and for keeping this collection of counterculture congregants operating. Please join us in singing our welcome song, and if you feel comfortable doing so, stand up and greet those around you. Today's opening words are entitled, Love is the Center and Foundation by Sherry Woodbury. Again, we ground ourselves here in our highest values.
Love is the center and foundation of this faith.
Love is the power that holds us together as a community.
As we enter into worship, then, let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love.
Because love is not only something we receive, but something we practice in community.
Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love.
Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
As we continue to listen and learn to act and grow,
may each unfold in wholeness,
deeply loving and truly loved.
Thank you so much. I invite you to rise in body, spirit, and voice for our opening hymn, number 1014, Standing on the Side of Love.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, love, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are standing on the side of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound. Corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are standing on the side of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim We are standing on the side of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim, we are standing on the side of love. Standing on the side of love.
So I forgot to pick a chalice lighter. Neil, would you be willing to light our chalice as we read the novel that we have for the chalice lighting? It's an insert. We come from many places, along different paths, bringing different truths. We come with different histories and different realities, and yet we come together as one people, with faith that we can use our differences to heal ourselves and each other, to bring wholeness to a fractured world. We come seeking to find community, to find acceptance of who we are. In this place, may we find others who are much like us and others who are much different. May our lit chalice remind us that we are a people taught by different stories, with many voices, but always one people working for a world where love creates justice and justice gives birth to peace. I realized as I was putting this service together that we missed an opportunity. We could have had our music makers sing some Bowie. I'm so sorry, Jamie and all. For those at home, please take a moment to find David Bowie singing Changes on YouTube, because it will be blacked out on our service, while we watch it here in the sanctuary. We gather together in worship, whether in person or virtually, to connect with the greater good, to do good, and to be better. Part of that is sharing our joys, our celebrations, our sorrows, our concerns, our peace, our help, and our needs. For joys, once again, we have learned the value of working together and helping our neighbors. This past week's storm brought our community together, as it has so many times in the past, to help one another. Also, there are books for the taking on the front porch. Help yourself. And joy for the wonderful folks who came out for yesterday's spring cleaning. And thanks to Neil, his family, and Paul, for hanging our new screens properly. Slight sorrow for not having a long enough HDMI cord for this one, but it's been ordered. It'll be here for the next service here. Also, joy for house guests, someone says. Concerns for those affected by the storms and flooding in our area. Sorrows for the escalation of violence in the Middle East as Iran sent 300 drones and missiles into Israel in retaliation for the bombing of their embassy in Syria. Also sorrows for too few people who came out to deep clean the building. Next time, and maybe we need around 2. We need more bodies. I think I counted maybe 6 or 8 that showed up. Not enough. And sorrows for friends and family in the hospital. For all the joys and sorrows and concerns that we feel, both spoken and unspoken, may we remember shared joy is multiplied and shared sadness is diminished. Now let's take a moment to sit and breathe. Pray if you wish. Sit silently, meditate. Within this space of an instant, you can make a first impression, show gratitude, kiss, change your mind, wipe away a tear, live and die. It takes only a minute to write a note, tell a joke, change a diaper, sing a song, or be still. Within an hour, you can share a meal, run an errand, make a cake or make love, attend a parade or balance your checkbook, sometimes. It takes a day to paint a room, feed a crowd, visit relatives, read a book, rest. If you commit a year, you can write a book, plant and harvest a crop, become a parent, change your life. And with your lifetime and with your life, you can and you will change the world. The offering we collect this morning reflects our willingness to support these people and this place. Please give generously.
Bed of bread I had to eat.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would walk through love so loudly, every heart would understand that love and only love can join the tribes of man. I would give my heart's desires so that you might see. The first step is to realize that it all begins with you and me. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? When we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything if we keep believing in the power. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love and only love.
As some of you know, last week we completely lost the sound system just before the service. Thought we had it fixed. Apparently there are still some issues, so we apologize for that and we'll be on it. Please join me in reading our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Love is the spirit of our faith and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. When I worked as a manager at McDonald's, I used to say, the only thing that never changes is that everything always changes. If you don't like something, stick around, it'll change. If you do like something, stick around. It'll change too. In the Marvel universe, Scott Lang, also known as Ant-Man or Giant Man, depending on his size, wrote a book. A quote from that book is, "For the rest of you kids out there, a word of advice. Look out for the little guy. Make mistakes, take chances, because if there's one thing life's taught me, there's always room to grow." Now, I love the principles that adorn our sanctuary. They were some of the factors that contributed to my continuing attending after my first visit, and then later becoming a member here. I've talked many times about how they guide our lives as UUs. When attending services, I would occasionally tune out the words being spoken. Now, I'm sure none of you do that. You all hang on every syllable I speak, always. But I would, and I would read and ponder the beautiful artwork hanging on our walls. I have copies of them on my wall at home. I try to live my life based on them. In honor of Phoenix, the artist who created them, I'm wearing my bandana today. He couldn't attend today, but let's give him a round of applause anyway. I'm sorry? He didn't mention that. The gentleman who he caretakes is being honored at the Capitol and giving a speech today, so he had to be there for that. Happy birthday, Phoenix. Yes. If you aren't aware, the Unitarian Universalist Association is going to vote on some changes this summer. A 2-year-long study has been commissioned, and they have recommended to instead have a set of shared values we covenant to try to live by. As always, when writing a sermon, I start by looking up the definitions of what I'm going to talk about. So what are principles and what are values? Oxford Languages defines principles as fundamental truths or propositions that serve as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior. The same tome, Oxford Languages, defines values as a person's standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. So principles are what we base our behavior on, and values judge or guide our behavior. One is fundamental and the other is individual. In his influential book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey outlined the difference between principles and values. In Covey's view, principles are rules or laws that are permanent, unchanging, and universal in nature. Values are internal and subjective, and they may change over time. For Covey, principles are self-evident, and as part of most traditions and philosophies over the ages, they've been woven into the fabric of societies throughout human history. They often concern human behavior and govern interactions between people. Principles represent an objective reality that transcends cultures and individuals. For example, Covey cites various principles, including fairness, integrity, and honesty. He declared, "A principle is a natural law like gravity. If you drop something, gravity controls. If I don't tell you the truth, you won't trust me. That's a natural law." He goes on to say there are certain principles that transcend cultural differences and do not change over time. They determine the ultimate outcomes or consequences of behavior and actions as much as gravity determines that something will fall when dropped. In contrast, Values are beliefs and opinions that people hold regarding specific issues or ideas, and are ultimately internal, subjective, and malleable. They may change as demands or needs change. If a given belief or opinion is something that might be altered if the conditions are right, then it's a value, says Covey. Values are important in expressing our individual beliefs and opinions, and they can be used tactically to accomplish certain objectives based on our current circumstances, demands, and needs. Values can ultimately reflect or determine the current but potentially alterable goals that we have in our professional, family, and personal life. My problem with Covey is that effective and good are not synonymous. Being effective in business does not make one a good person. So are our 7 principles truly principles, or are they values we try to live by? What we value influences what our principles are. So let's move on to being what's proposed. If you attended Reverend Bruce Beisner's service in January, he spoke about them. Bob has also. It starts with this graphic. Maddie, slide 2. Created by artist Tanya Webster, and the statement, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are." A few weeks ago, I talked about my struggle wrapping my head around love, the big L-O-V-E, the kind that John Lennon was saying all we need, saying was that all we need. This is that kind of love, agape. It then lists our shared Unitarian Universalist values. We'll look at these new shared values in a moment, but first, let's look at why these changes are being made. Back to me, Maddie, if you would. In an article in UU World magazine titled "Why Unitarian Universalists Are Re-Examining Article 2," UUA Executive Vice President Carrie McDonald answers some of the questions about proposed changes to the principles. Yes? Okay, Carol. Proposed changes to the principles, purposes, and sources. Carrie writes, "The UUA bylaws mandate a regular revision process of Article 2 every 15 years. Article 2 has the language that is at the heart of our faith for many of us as UUs. It has the principles and sources and our purpose as an organization. The language in Article 2 lives in the UUA bylaws and has been revised a number of times over the course of the UUA's history. We are a living tradition." Says so right there, singing the living tradition. Which means regularly reviewing and asking ourselves, does the Article 2 core language reflect who we are now and who we want to be? More specifically, and this shows up in the charge given to the Article 2 Study Commission by the Board of Trustees, there were a couple of proposed changes to Article 2 that started around 2017. One did pass, which changed men and women to people in the second source. There was a recommended change in the first principle to all beings instead of all people, every person, which did not pass. Then, of course, There has been the large grassroots movement toward an eighth principle. Instead of considering such changes one by one, the board created the Article 2 Study Commission in 2020. One of the features of this process is that it is very strictly defined in our bylaws on how to make changes to the language in Article 2. In addition to the regular 15-year review, the UUA is required to create an Article 2 Study Commission when any changes are considered, unless there is overwhelming support for a specific change. There was a push from the Commission on Appraisal, a separate UUA commission, to make a number of changes to Article 2 in 2008 and through 10. These didn't pass, so there were still some of those recommendations to consider, which were also named in the charge that the board gave to the Article 2 Commission. Now, are the Article 2 revisions moving away from the principles? What about the importance of enduring values? Carrie writes, growing up as a UU, the principles were important to me and values were just as important. These were the foundation of our covenant, what we agreed to do together and the promises we made to each other in the faith community. My view of the proposal, says Carrie, from the Article 2 Study Commission, is that it's a deepening and expanding of the language of the 7 principles to include commitments and actions. It's being clear about the values that are at our foundation and what they call us to do as people of faith. I think, he says, it does a very good job of articulating what it means to be a UU today. Regardless of the outcome of the vote, individual congregation and UU communities can hold and value the 7 principles as a meaningful part of our religious tradition, just as some have adopted the 8th principle on their own. I would like to examine the changes to our purpose and sources at a later time. For now, let's just look at the shared values. So each word of each petal, and this is on the front of your order of service, has both a value represented and a covenant to go with it. As Carrie said, they include commitments and actions. It is being clear about the values that are at our foundation and what they call us to do as a people of faith. Now, let's delve deeper into each of these interdependent values that we will be asked to commit to, and then the actions that go with them. Slide 3, cool. You can read it. I will also. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where we all thrive. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. And equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. Now, these are all interconnected. They're not ranked or listed in any particular order, unlike the first principle, second principle, etc. Now let's dive deeper into each with slide 4. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life, and with humility we acknowledge our place in it. And we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Now, slide 5, pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology, and we covenant to learn from each other in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Slide 6, justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systematic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. Slide 7, transformation. We adapt to the changing world, and we covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Slide 8, generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope, and we covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. And finally, slide 9, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Back to me, Maddie. Again, from Carrie's article, regardless of the outcome of the vote, individual congregations and UU communities can hold and value the 7 principles as a meaningful part of our religious tradition, just as some have adopted the 8th principle. We don't need to do away with our 7 principles. We are adding shared values and covenanting to actions that support them. For me, these 7 principles have helped me be the UU I am. The art that Phoenix created has been shared across the country and has inspired many to see us for what we are, a caring, beloved community. I think most of us have a love-hate relationship with change. I like the idea of being cool with change, but then I do love my routines also. I think for many of us, this is feeling like something that's being forced on us. I don't feel at this late point in the process that we, UUC, have had any input into this proposal that began as we were losing a minister and transitioning to a lay-led congregation. That this happened during COVID didn't help, and that I am not an ordained minister with the connections in the UUA hasn't helped either. Also, that I am not full-time here. I have to work to pay bills and live. That's real life. And I am developing into this position as worship coordinator. Those connections need to be looked at as our journey continues. I will propose to the board that even now we form our own Article 2 study group. Just by a show of hands, is that something you might like to see or participate in? Anyone? I think there are several. Good. So, as Bowie said, changes, turn and face the strange. Changes. We can do that. Now let's sing together again. Please rise in body, spirit, and voice for hymn 1008. Our heart is in a holy place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed, and every kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, and our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our closing words today are Go Boldly by Jean M. Olson from the book Becoming, a Spiritual Guide for Navigating Adulthood by Kayla Parker. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. May you love even though your heart breaks again and again, and until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. Now let's sing our recessional together.